middle of the countryside, alone. Well, you must know that if you wake up inside a house that you don't know, on a mattress in a room stained with blood, you could have been taken by Evil Kid. Yes, the character we are going to discover today is different from the others. What characterizes him is the fact of being a child. The age of the child is 9 years old. He is elegantly dressed with a blood-soaked knife he uses to kill victims. If you look him in the face, blood comes out of his mouth, nose, and eyes. He is not just any child. In fact, Evil Kid is a kind of zombie. Let's start to understand his story. Evil Kid was born in Kiev, in Ukraine. His name is Roman. He happily grew up with his family. His brother died when he was 5 years old. Roman has always been well and happy. At school, he was fine. He was a very normal child, like everyone else. The only problem that Roman has always had is that he has bad dreams. Or the others were convinced that he had bad dreams. Roman, in fact, woke up at night and began to feel cold and afraid. He always saw the same figure in front of his bed, a strange creature with horns, like a demon. Roman saw the figure staring into his eyes, motionless. It didn't move an inch, but the boy felt its breath. Roman screamed in the night, hiding under the covers. His parents woke up to go see what was going on. They found nothing. At this point, his parents told him that it was just a bad dream and that he could feel comfortable and go back to sleep. But Roman was always afraid. He knew that as soon as his parents had left his room, turning off the light, the monster would reappear. And in fact, it happened very often. The shadow with the horns reappeared, staring at him all night. After some time, the parents decided to take their son to a psychologist, but it didn't work. Roman always saw the same figure at night. Once, his father decided to stay in the child's room to see what would happen, but Roman saw nothing. He only saw the shadow when he was alone. So for a long time he slept with his parents, and fortunately, he got better, even when he went back to sleep alone. For years he never saw that strange figure again. Shortly thereafter, his parents decided to move to the countryside. Roman was happy. He could start a new life, new friends, but he still didn't know what would happen to him. The house was large and in the middle of nowhere, isolated. There was a crazy panorama, very beautiful to look at. In front of the house there was a forest, black, dark, and dense. His parents had told Roman to be careful when going into the woods. He could get lost. Roman had always been a very curious child. He wanted to go in the woods. One afternoon, while his dad was cutting wood in the garden and his mom was down in the village shopping, Roman, without saying anything to his father, decided to go into the woods alone. He was sure that he wouldn't get lost. He brought a torch with him. The forest, even if it was sunny outside, was dark. Roman walked slowly, entering the woods. A strong smell hit him instantly. It was strange. It was a little cold inside, but it was splendid. It was an almost enchanted forest. Above him he saw birds singing. He was surrounded by tall green plants. He was overjoyed. He began to play with the leaves, to run, dodging the trees, jumping the branches, when he suddenly fell into a deep hole. It was a trap. The flashlight he carried with him had been lost during the fall. He could only see the light at the top of the hole where he was. Crying, he started calling for help, calling for his dad. Roman stayed in the hole for hours waiting for his parents. In reality, the boy had gone into the woods, getting lost, and his cries did not reach the house. Darkness was beginning to fall, and Roman was cold. He didn't know what to do. He was just in the middle of the woods, inside a hole. After a time that seemed infinite, Roman raised his head upwards. He saw almost nothing, but he saw figures, black, and one reminded him of what he saw as a child in dreams. Roman began to pant from fear. Now that he looked better, he saw the shadow that had tormented him for years, with horns. The figure was motionless, looking inside the hole. Roman could see his eyes, sparkling, staring at him. After minutes of staring at him, Roman felt something under him. He tried to look, but nothing was visible. When he looked up again, the shadow with the horns was gone. Suddenly he heard a series of noises, as if someone was digging, something that moved slowly. The darkness did not allow him to see very well, but then Roman saw men approaching him with a large chest. Roman was petrified with fear. He could not move. Those men suddenly turned the chest upside down. It was full of dirt. Roman, shouting, was buried from the dirt, suffocating, dying. Those mysterious figures had buried him alive. While this happened, Roman's dad had noticed the absence of his son. He had begun to look for him desperately in the woods by calling him, but he hadn't found him. Returning home in the dark, he and his wife called for help, which began the search that night. But nobody knew that a transformation was taking place in those woods. It was almost 3 a.m. when Roman's mother, going to the kitchen, found that the knife to cut the meat was missing, the largest knife. She immediately started looking for it, but she didn't find it. Worried, she went to the window of her house to look, thinking of her son, where he could be at that moment. Roman, however, was behind her with a knife in his hand. He had already entered the house. Roman's father, after hours of searching, decided to go home and rest a little. He was about to enter when he saw Roman's face from the window, but he was no longer him. The boy had become a zombie, a cursed boy. His gaze was empty. The skin was very white and decaying, and he showed the knife in his hand, stained with blood. Roman's father, terrified, immediately entered the house. He was petrified when he saw his wife slaughtered on the floor. He didn't even have time to speak, to understand what had happened. Roman stabbed him 7 times until he died. Time passed. Nobody ever found the child, Roman, or the evil kid. He had hidden. Nobody had found him. The house where he brings his victims is the same where he killed his parents. We can see that evil kid in the secret room always keeps someone's body to have some fun. To explain it better, he pretends to be a surgeon. Many victims are later buried outside in the garden. Before killing a man, Roman usually cuts a part of the body and then hangs you upside down, waiting for you to bleed to death. With the body pieces he cuts, we don't know exactly what he does.